Lindsey Graham has this 15-week abortion ban. If you take the Senate, will you put this on the floor of the Senate for a vote, or will you commit to leaving this issue entirely to the states?
Well, with regard to his bill, you'll have to ask him about it. In terms of scheduling, I think most of the members of my conference prefer that this be dealt with at the state level.
I think that's Joni Ernst standing behind him. Like, only part of her head can be seen there. Very metaphorical. We pretty much already knew that Senator Lindsey Graham's proposed 15-week federal abortion ban wouldn't be popular with most Americans. And that's because 60% of Americans say abortion should be legal in all or most cases, according to recent Wall Street Journal polling. But it turns out Senator Graham's proposed abortion ban isn't all that popular in the Republican Party either. And a new NBC report found that, quote, from the halls of Congress to the campaign trail, Republicans attack the bill as a distraction that divides the GOP and reminds voters that most of them see the party as too extreme on abortion. Joining me now for more, Democratic strategist Kurt Bardella, columnist for USA Today and the LA Times, and also Lindy Lee, the co-chair of Justice United. Okay, this is going to be a fire panel because you both fire. Lindy, I'll start with you. We've talked so much in recent months about the Republican overreach post Dobbs, right? They went to overturn abortion. They went to the Supreme Court. They stacked it. And now they're passing very restrictive and extreme abortion bans on the state level. Do you think they're underestimating just how angry people are out there when they realize what these new proposed bans actually mean in real life?
Oh, for sure. Since June 24th, the day that Dobbs came down, there were 5 special congressional elections. And guess what? Republicans underperformed against a partisan lean in every single one. And Democrats even managed to win Alaska, which is just huge. Pat Ryan was able to win a rural swing district that Trump won in 2016. And why is that? It's because women are mad as hell. People are furious. Turns out taking away our reproductive rights, taking away our bodily autonomy, taking away our control over our bodies and uteruses wasn't a popular idea after all. And they have a lot coming down in November, and I'm very excited to see it. And we have Republican Senate candidates like Blake Masters scrubbing their websites as hard as they can, removing all remnants of their extremist abortion policies. But we're not going to forget that. We see them for who they really are in our Christo-fascist extremist abortion, pro-forced birth activists who want to control women, who want to keep us barefoot and pregnant and deprive us of opportunities.
And one of the things I think a lot about, Kurt, is, you know, I've been thinking about why Senator Graham would propose a bill and a federal ban like this right now. And I thought maybe it was to excite the Republican base. But as you saw from the polling, that's not working because Mitch McConnell, standing all the way in front of Senator Ernst, by the way, who's like hidden in the backdrop there, you know, isn't really eager to talk about a federal ban. I mean, but how many times can you actually fire up the Republican base is really my question here. We always talk about that 25% of the American electorate and how Donald Trump and how the Republicans are trying to excite that base of supporters. But I mean, aren't they fired up? They stormed into the Capitol on January 6th. I feel like they were fired up already.
You want to talk about a failure to read the room? That's what Lindsey Graham did to the Republican caucus yesterday. You would think that after losing Alaska, you would think that after losing a swing district in New York, you would think that after losing the Kansas ballot initiative, you would think that after underperforming after election after election after election, that maybe these guys would wake up and realize, hey, this is not a winning strategy, but instead they're doubling down on failure. They're doubling down on the very formula that has cost them seats already. And when November comes and people are wondering, my God, how in the world did Democrats pull off the impossible? How did they keep the Senate and keep the House? Look back to these type of things, because these Republican old white men seem to think that the only way they can get their side to turn out to vote is to continue this ridiculous and absurd war on women. They think that they have to dominate women. They have to control women. And let's just be very clear. The message that Lindsey Graham is sending here is if they continue to get the reins of power, they're going to go further. It's not just going to stop at the Dobbs decision. They're going to go after contraception. They're going to go after every single women's right that we have in America. That is their only agenda, apparently, heading into November, and it's going to backfire significantly.
And Lindy, when you think about even the idea that all of that is happening in a moment where there are so many election deniers winning their primaries, including last night in New Hampshire, you're seeing these folks on the ballot who don't believe in democracy. So how afraid are you, and speak to some of the dangers as you see them, of folks like this running in an election when so many of these critical issues are on the line? If they don't even believe in democracy, how are they going to protect my rights?
They're operating in a completely fact-free zone. And let's be clear about this. They're not just lying about the election. They're lying about abortion. Let me remind you, they told us, the Christo-fascist Supreme Court justices promised us that this would be left to the states. Congressional Republicans promised us that this would be left to the states. So what are they doing now? Pushing a national abortion ban? We can't believe a word that comes out of their mouths. And we have the election deniers winning elections all across the country, and not just for the Senate, Congress, and governor, but also for secretaries of state. These are the very people overseeing our elections. We have organizations like the Federalist Society, under the supervision of Leonard Leo, who are trying to legislate democracy out of existence, to empower state legislatures to just overturn the will of the people. And Lindsey Graham, who has no partner to speak of, no children, is a white man with no uterus, has no understanding of women's bodies, somehow thinks that he is empowered to be the ultimate authority on women's bodies? Are you kidding me? Everything about this setup was offensive. The way that he weaponized women behind him to get his message across, the way he lied about the fact that he was going to bring the United States in line with the rest of the world. Well, guess what? Europe makes abortion extremely accessible before 15 weeks, and even after 15 weeks, they provide a number of exceptions, making healthcare readily accessible to the women of Europe. And frankly, the rest of the world, they're horrified about what's going on in this country.
And Kurt, I mean, I think that there's so many existential issues going on right now, and it feels like the American people are looking for leadership, somebody to govern the country, run for office, get elected, and govern. Republicans, in this moment, some of them, do not appear to have that intention as they run. Isn't that an inherent contradiction?
Yeah, I've always believed that you can't beat something with nothing, Zerlina. And really what the Republican Party seems to offer the American people are just two things. One, election denialism, and two, taking rights away from women. That's their platform. That's all that we hear them talk about day in and day out. Meanwhile, the contrast with Democrats couldn't be clearer. Democrats are getting things done on lowering gas prices. They passed the Inflation Reduction Act. They passed the most massive and historical climate change legislation in human history. They've gotten the CHIPS bill done to help boost American manufacturing and stay competitive with China. They've gotten bipartisan gun reform done, the first gun reform bill done in more than 2 decades after however many mass shootings I can't even keep track of anymore. They're trying to lower the cost of health care. They've fought to lower the price of insulin. Over and over and over again, we're seeing Democrats talk about issues. They get stuff done. They deliver for the American people. The only thing Republicans want to talk about is the 2020 election that was already decided and taking rights away from women. I don't think at the end of the day that's going to be enough. I think that Republicans, their vision of America is one that's backwards. Democrats are talking about things going forward while also holding Democrats accountable for their anti-democratic and very dangerous MAGA extremist ways.
Kurt Bardella and Lindy Lee, I knew this panel was going to be fire, and it was. It delivered. Thank you so much for being here. It was great to have you on and to discuss these issues with you. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.